What's up, guys? Army-Firedawg back, and today actually marks the end of my review period of Fiio EX1s. I'm actually part of their very first review tour, so I'm very honored and thankful for that. And also on that note, I do have to give a huge shout out to both Joe Blogs, who represents Fiio, and Fiio themselves for giving me this opportunity to review these. Those who don't know, the EX1s are actually built on the Dono Titans, or Dunu Titans, which are one of the highest price per quality rated headphones, or in-ear monitors, excuse me, you can find. I think they're ranked number 2 overall on HeadFi, like just under the Global Kaisers, which I believe run $1,400. Quite a very impressive feat. Also on that note, these only retail for about $90 on Amazon. So very, very consumer friendly. They don't break the bank. And for their price, you can't really go wrong with these, but I'll get on that more here in a little bit. So, as always, I like to start with the construction of it and move on down from there. Being made of aluminum really does say quite a bit, especially to be sub $100 again. The horn is not only universally sized, which means I can use my compliant memory foam tips. They're angled and at a very nice degree, so these sit in your ears very, very well. And I'll touch on that more in the next section. On the note of being aluminum, on some I've seen, especially in the sub $100 price point, they're kind of rough on the edge, like right where they mesh together, which would be right here. These are very, very smooth and very well cut and fabricated. Like there's no sharp corners or edges anywhere on there. Moving down to the cables, these are actually built very, very well. They remind me of the Sennheiser IE800's cables, which have been like kind of like a winded up cable inside of a plastic mesh, if you can kind of see that in there. They're built well. I don't have any worries about them breaking. If they get snagged on something, they'll pull out of my ear much quicker than that. A downside, however, I do have with the cable is I find that they tend to like to tangle up on themselves, which is pretty common with the circular kind of cables. That's just a common thing. So I can't really knock too much off of that, but it is something to be aware of nonetheless. And that's all about the actual monitor themselves, but I do have to give a impressive note. They actually come in a very hard travel case, which if you remember from my unboxing video, this thing is awesome. It fits in your pocket wonderfully well, and it holds, it's plenty spacious. Now, moving to what most of y'all really care about, and that's how do they sound? How do they perform, especially in relation to other $100 category, which I would definitely put these into the fun category. I find they have a V-shaped sound curve, which means the highs and the lows are more emphasized, while the mids is either not touched or they're kind of recessed. That accentuates the fun aspects of audio, which is what most people care about. And on that note, the treble I find it's very energetic, it's very active, but I do find it peaks kind of early, which again is not uncommon at all in this price point, at all. If you're listening to opera music, or for example, I like to test the treble in headphones using the Fifth Element song Diva Dance. I can't pronounce the woman's name who sings it, but her voice goes way up there. And on other IMs or higher, like say Elite Class Plus products, she can almost be piercing in some levels. And that's how her voice does portray. So when she gets to that high peaks, and it's okay, it doesn't, like no strain, no at all, that does say that these peak kind of early. The mids aren't really touched that much. I do find that the people's vocals just sound a little bit lower. That's the only note I found on the bass, the mids that stood out to me. Otherwise, I have no complaints with the mids. The bass, however, is definitely a focal point on these. They hit hard, they extend very deep, but on that note, on the audiophile side of it, I find them to be somewhat bloated, which means it's trying really hard to get that oomph that'll sometimes exaggerate that decay and kind of sound bloated. Not horrible, especially in the price point, but does exist. But in summary of Fiio's very first in-ear monitor, the EX1, I find them to be a really enjoyable earphone for their product. I can have no problem using them as a daily user. They're interesting. They're fun to listen to. I enjoy listening to them. They work very well for about any genre. I can't really pinpoint something they specialize or are weak in. And they stay in your ear very, very well. I have vent ports right here on the bottom that I don't think would work too well if sweat were to get in those, so I would not recommend these for physical activity. But guys, that's the end of my review of the Fiio EX1s. Again, huge shout out and thank you to Joe Blogs and Fiio. If you like the content, guys, don't forget to hit that like button. I greatly appreciate your support. If you have any questions on another product I've reviewed,